Okay, picking up where we left off on 375, we're talking about the differences between whether or not you have, what features are available when you have group and not group. Okay, the next thing we're going to be talking about, we're skipping ahead just a couple of pages, but one of the things we're going to be talking about is how to do a 3D cell reference. So for example, if I go to another spreadsheet, well, let's just right here. Right here, I want to know what is the sum of the values right there through the z-axis. Okay, how would I do that? Well, you know, it'd be kind of start off with sum, right? And then what does the cell reference look like? And this is the part that's a little weird. You give it the cell name. I'm sorry, the worksheet name. Now we have seen worksheet names before inside of these things. It has the sheet name with a little exclamation mark. So that would be like Bob with an exclamation mark, E4 plus Sally with an exclamation point, E4 plus Fred with an exclamation point, E4. Okay, now that was a 3D kind of reference. Now, it looks a little weird because I'm summing the same cell, but I'm summing it through the middle. There is actually an easier... Remember how we did ranges before inside cells? You know, for example, if I was to go here and say, if I want to sum a bunch of these guys like from you know, E2 to E11, right? You use a colon in there, like E11. And so the colon operator basically means, you know, all of them, kind of. All right, let's do that again here. So I say sum, and I say Bob, colon, Fred, exclamation. Let's just use the same one. We'll use E4. Okay, now I want you to look at this, and that looks a little strange, I must admit. But this is an example of a three-dimensional array, a three-dimensional cell reference. Okay, now if you're following along the book, this is on page 378. So again, we have the x-axis, which is the E, the y-axis, which is the 4, and the z-axis, which is, in this case, is a range of Bob through Fred. Okay? Now, there is a way that the machine can be told to do this for you, because that's a little clumsy. I mean, going in here and having to, you know, do all this stuff. Thankfully, there actually is a better way, and it's a way called the consolidate feature. So on the data tab, there's this thing called consolidate, and it's what it's designed to do is combine everything from different ranges. So we're going to do an example of that. But you remember what I told you about the data tab doesn't really have anything in it when sheets are grouped, right? So answer me this question. If I want to use the consolidate feature, should A, the sheets be grouped, or B, ungrouped? The answer is ungrouped, because if they were grouped, I wouldn't be able to get to the dang thing, right? Okay, cool, just checking. So consolidate typically is designed to work on another spreadsheet. Now here I did this sum, but I did it on the same spreadsheet as Fred. Okay, consolidate was really designed to work on a blank worksheet. Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to do now. So I'm going to hit this consolidate. It's going to prompt me to go through an entire little wizard. So just hang on. So here we go. I hit consolidate, and it's asked me for the references. Well, unfortunately, I need a lot of references. So the first thing I want to do is I want to be able to browse to like this row. Okay, but am I done? No, I just really want to add that one to the list. And then go to Sally and add that one to the list. And then go to Fred and add that one to the list. So you can see where I've added 3 references. So this is the Bob range, the Fred range, and the Sally range. To me, this is a little easier than going in there and manually typing in, you know, Fred colon whatever, you know, Sally colon, and then having another colon kind of a thing. It works the same. It's just this kind of does the work for you. Okay, and then I'm going to hit the OK button. So there is a summary, a consolidation, a summary of all those things. Now I'm just going to physically move this to kind of make it fit. Remember how you can move data? I'm going to grab this guy and just drag him over and drop him right here so he kind of physically lines up with the other guys. I mean, this is not, that's not a feature of Consolidate you really need to be worried about. But okay, so notice that there's no difference here on line 3. So I'm going to go to Fred at line 3 and add a bill rate of $99, and he worked for 99 hours. Okay, cool. Now let's go back to my Consolidate, and that number ought to be there, shouldn't it? How come it ain't there? Well, it's because when I chose to do this, I did not hit that little checkbox that said, this one right here that says create links to source data. Now what that basically means is, okay, I did precisely what you asked me to do. However, any changes you make do not show up. So I'm going to click this guy where it says please do create links and hit the button. Okay, now you can instantly tell that yes indeed my $9,801 is actually there. Woohoo! And then we have some extra things. Look at all this strange stuff up here. I've got what's called a first level detail, and then some of these little plus marks. Let's click on a plus mark. Ah, so what on earth is that showing me? It's showing me all sorts. You might look at that and go, I don't have a clue what. So what you're doing is you're showing the data that is wrapped up in that number, okay, by temporarily displaying more than one thing at a time. I know it's a little weird. So this takes a little bit of getting used to. Plus these little top level views, show me everything all expanded out. Okay, that's pretty cool. So for example, for this, there was only one value in here of the 3. Remember, of the 3 workers, there was only one of them that had a value of 98. So it's showing all 3 of them. This, brings it all together. This expands them everywhere, and then you can individually expand something if you wanted to go look at it. Okay, it's a little weird. This little notation off to the side, a lot of people who've been using Excel for quite some time, the first time they see this, they freak out and go, what on earth is all that? Now notice, I didn't get this top level kind of a thing, level 1 outline and level 2 outline and individual outline. I didn't get that feature until I clicked that linked guy. Okay, now I will tell you, if you read on page 383, there is several times in the textbook it says that when you have linked consolidation with linked features, that if you go in here and make a change, that it does not update. That's what they say. It's in the book in more than one location on that page. Well, let me tell you, they're smoking dope, because that certainly ain't the case. Clearly it is the case if you do not select that checkbox for linked. If you do select the checkbox for linked, it is going to work. Okay. Hooray! Whew. Okay, so 3D formulas, that's kind of cool. You could have done this by hand. You could have. I could have gone in there and just clicked on, the sum feature and done the thing, and then grabbed the autofill and pulled it down. That would have worked. Okay, and it would have given the same numeric values, but it would have not have created this leveling outlines for me. Okay, only the Consolidate provides me both the math and the ability to say, wait a minute, I need to drill in. Where'd that 99 come from? And you click on it. And one of the things you can do that make this a little bit more clear is, when you click on this, I can't tell which one of these is Bob and Sally and stuff. One of the other options that is in here when you hit the Consolidate is whether or not you want to use the labels on the left column. Okay. And so when you click this guy, it actually will say it's Bob, it's Sally, rather than just looking at it going, wow, it looks like the second one, whatever the second one is. And so a lot of people use the this first leftmost column, being able to do that. Now, I will tell you one of the things that's kind of weird is after this is done, after you've got this little notation going here, then you can go in there and play with it and, do the normal kinds of things. You can add a heading to the top, whatever this is summary, and do all those kinds of things. Because, you're not really doing anything to the real consolidation. All you're doing is just dressing up this page where the consolidation happens to be. Okay. Now, sometimes those 3D references are kind of complex. I mean, again, we used to consolidate, and the consolidate allowed me to pick, over and over and over, pick the things I wanted in there. Or doing it the other way here, where I went in here and I put in a range of sheets and all that, that could get kind of old. So you might think, well, I'm going to use the named range feature because, geez, that was a little complex. So, remember how you had the little name box here? So if I wanted to go in here and build me a name box, build me a named range that has a Z component, I'll just go here and type it in the name box. No. Why? I'm not exactly certain. The named range feature, it works, but not from here. You have to go through and do it the same way that we did before. Remember how we were doing? We went to formulas and we went to name manager. Now I can put in a new thing, and you could go in here and put in your reference here. For example, I could go here and say let's see, it would be Bob : Fred exclamation E4. Okay, and I'm gonna call this one, I don't know what the heck it is. That's E4 is 10 a.m. I'll call it 10 a.m. Remember you can't start those guys? About some 10 a.m. Okay. Well, anyway, the point of the thing is you can't just go here and use the name range guy. You have to actually use the name manager to be able to get that thing to work. Okay. Whew. That was a little weird, but not all that tough. Okay, picking up on page 385, we're now talking about using multiple workbooks. Now this concept is kind of sort of similar to what we were doing before with the the z-axis thing, where you instead of, you have a bunch of worksheets and they all kind of combined together. Well, you don't necessarily need to be using individual worksheets to make that happen. You could be using different workbooks. So I've got a second copy out here of this workbook. Now it just happens to be the same thing, but just bear with me. So I have workbook 1 and workbook 2. So now both of them are open. You can kind of sort of tell that the two of them are open here. Cool. Now Excel makes it kind of sort of easy to do this by going to View and Arrange. And I can go in here and say I want to show these guys horizontally. It shows both workbook 1 and workbook 2, but they're stacked together like this. Or you can go in here and say I want vertical. Now this is called there's a term for this, not to get too technical. It's called the multiple document interface. And this works really, really well in this older version, this Excel 2010. The 2013 and 2016 version of Excel, it kind of sort of does this, but it doesn't do it inside a multiple document interface. It actually just tiles the windows just the same way you know how if you didn't have these guys maximized. So for example, let me tell you what, let me just open another one here. I'm gonna open a third one. Okay, if I don't have these guys maximized, okay, these guys aren't maximized. You know how in most modern versions of Windows you just drag something off to the side and it automatically docks, right? Well, that's essentially what the new version of Excel kind of sort of does. It basically mimics the operating system doing its own thing. Okay, so it's a little weird. All right, so now that I have multiple documents open, I want to be able to switch back and forth between them all. I'm going to go back and I'm going to go, I tell you what, I'm going to close this guy. So now we just go back. Go away. Okay, this is a good place to stop for the 15-minute mark. We'll pick this thing up again in just a few.